Hi, we're Diamond and Silk, and we love the Naked Truth Report.
Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth!
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Hi, this is Kathleen Wells, host of the Naked Truth Report. Thanks for joining me. You guys know I love my truth warriors and mythbusters. I really hate going on social media, but I go on there to see. I can't stand it. I can't stand the people who make comments on social media. When I say social media, I mean, because I don't have Twitter anymore. I got rid of my Twitter account when Trump was deleted. Banned off the account. But we'll talk about that later. Trump's lawsuit against Facebook, Twitter, and Google. We'll discuss that later. Also, I was going to have Judge Joe Brown on to discuss his black think tank, but he's a little under the weather, so he'll be on later, at another time. But what was I talking about? Going on social media. I can't stand it because it's such media. The people are shallow and superficial. Yeah. The masses are shallow and superficial. So I was looking at I was on a YouTube video where I think it was a Los Angeles local news report where a black woman in South Central Los Angeles, single. She was recently murdered, and her daughters suspect she was found by one of her daughters, bound and gagged, and her hands tied in her closet or in a blanket in a closet. One of the daughters found her. I think this was a report a couple of days ago on the local news. She was, I think, near Western in Vermont, like 68th and Vermont, or maybe 87th and Western, or something like that. You know the area, right? Let's see. Her daughters were devastated. She was well known in the community for being friendly, loving, open, a warm woman, popular, that kind of thing. Well, she was murdered by her ex-boyfriend. Her boyfriend, not ex-boyfriend, her boyfriend. Her boyfriend had been released. He served time. He was a felon. He was a felon. He served time in prison for murder, 25 years. And he was a recovering alcoholic. And he murdered her. This is a murderer who is her boyfriend, okay? And I think she had 2 or 3 daughters, and her daughters were devastated. And her daughters expressed on the news, the local news, that they were concerned. Now, they haven't caught, as of the last time I looked at the video, they haven't caught the person who murdered her, but her daughters suspect it was the boyfriend, right? And the daughters said on the local news that they were trying to persuade their mother not to date this guy. So I'm making a comment in the comment section. I have an opinion about everything, and naturally, me and other folks were saying, "See, this is what the liberals are. This is what the DA is doing in Los Angeles, letting these criminals go." Now, we don't know if this guy fell under the category of being able to get early release or whatever. Who knows? But the bigger idea is that there are a lot of criminals on the streets now in all major cities, and crime is skyrocketing, and the Democrats want to defund the police, even though they deny it. That's another thing I want to touch on, is that how the left, and whenever you read an article, they will all say right wing, something or other, the person's name. We need to say these in the articles, we need to say these left-wing lunatics, okay? Left-wing lunatics will lie about everything. Now they lie about the fact that they don't want to defund the police. They lie about everything. Like Mark Lamont Hill was lying about the fact that, let's say, critical race theory is not the granddaughter to cultural Marxism. Joanne Reed lies about the fact that critical race theory is not the granddaughter of cultural Marxism. We know it is because we've done all our study. We've looked at everything. We've researched everything. Mark Levin was talking about it this evening on his program. He has all the books. And I'm taking the Hillsdale College course, and I looked at the lecture by Dr. Vadi Bachman, and we see, I never mentioned this guy, the scholar John Dewey, yeah. These are all, he says Mark Levin said today, progressivism is the progeny of cultural Marxism. All of it is cultural Marxism. That theory, it's a mere theory. And if you and we can look back now after 100 years and see what has communism / socialism, what have been the fruits that have been born from this political ideology. So we don't have to question it anymore. We can see it for ourselves. We know it. We have 100 years, if not more, of evidence to know that political ideology, and there are only a limited number of political and economic ideologies, to know it's not happening, folks. Okay, but these folks lie. Listen, and that's part of Marxism, actually, is to lie. Propaganda. Never met Joanne Reed, because I saw her I looked at an interview that Joanne Reed conducted with Kimberly Crenshaw. Kimberly Crenshaw is the woman, I think she's a law professor. She graduated, I think, from UCLA Law School. And in 1989, she is the one that started the intersectionality. So I said last week it's intersectionality. I forgot to mention it's also multiculturalism. Intersectionality, multiculturalism, political correctness, and white privilege and diversity. That's the other one. These are all offshoots, or they're all in the mix, if you know what I mean. They're all in the mix. It's the same thing. I don't care what you label it. It doesn't matter what you label it. But if you're trying to overthrow, and this is something that Mark Lamont Hill said in his interview talking about critical race. He was speaking with a woman conservative. I can't remember her name. But he said something to the effect that, well, no, critical race theorists don't want to overthrow America. We just want to reimagine it. You see these play on words that these folks do? And that's the thing. That's the thing that I want to ask. What kind of person becomes an intellectual or an academician? What type of personality becomes an academician or an intellectual? I think it's a person, this is just my opinion, but I think it's a person that they know they're really smart. They think they're really smart. They are really smart. And they're sort of like socially awkward, or they're a misfit. They don't really fit in with everyone. And they're kind of idiosyncratic. Like, think of who? Dr. Cornel West. He's kind of, look at the way he wears his hair, right? He's eccentric. He's kind of idiosyncratic. And Michael Eric Dyson, look at him, how he abuses words. He uses he uses large words, and I can see how Joanne Reed would be she's smart, she went to Harvard, and I can see how she was smart growing up, but there was something about her that was socially awkward, or sort of like a misfit, and also her parents were from the Congo, so she didn't necessarily, when she was growing up, she didn't necessarily fit in, if you know what I mean, with other Black American children. She was sort of like, she probably had foo-foo or whatever, when she would have her lunchbox at school, and the kids would probably tease her or something like that. I don't think they do foo-foo in Congo. That's Ghana. But they may have something like it or something. But she had Congian food, when she would go to school, get her lunchbox. And so she was probably teased by the other Black American kids. You know how kids can be kind of tough in school and stuff like that. And I think of Mark Lamont Hill. I can see, I don't know if he's, I I don't know. I can't say definitively if he's a first-generation American or not. I don't know for sure. But I can see how he could be socially awkward because when he was doing his interview with Judge Joe Brown, and when Judge Joe Brown was talking about sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the 60s and 70s, he was defending Bill Cosby, and I want to touch on that case later, the Bill Cosby case, if I have time, or maybe I'll wait until Judge Joe Brown comes in, but because they doctored those depositions, okay? And I went over this in detail also. And the same folks that were going after Bill Cosby, who went after Bill Cosby, are the same folks who go after Trump. The left, the elites, the Hollywood folks, the liberal elites, okay? That whole Me Too movement was started by the same folks who go after Trump, okay? And they doctored those depositions, and Bill Cosby did not say, I drugged women and to have sex with them, or I drugged them to rape them, or I gave them Quaaludes. He said in the deposition, yes, I have a prescription for Quaaludes. And then the woman asked him something to the effect like, well, do you use Quaaludes with women you have sex with or something like that? And he said, oh yeah, sure. And this is what Judge Joe Brown was saying. Like in the 60s and 70s, it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Sure, we use Quaaludes and have sex. It's like to heighten the sex experience. It's not like in other words, he wasn't saying I secretly or in a clandestine way use drugs or like drop them in their pills or something, or drop them in their drink or something, date rape, like the date rape drug. I'm sneaking. He wasn't saying I'm sneaking them drugs so that I can later rape them, so that they pass out and I can later rape them. He was saying, oh no, we smoke weed, we take drugs, we drink wine to have heightened sex. That's what he was describing. And well, I don't want to get into that now, but because it's a long thing about the Bill Cosby thing, and maybe I'll wait until Judge Joe Brown is here to go into all the details. But what I was talking about is that the comments on the video of the woman that was murdered by her boyfriend, who was a murderer and served 25 years, the comments were, oh my God, this, that, and the other. Well, a few of us were saying, yeah, it's liberal policies. A few of us in the comment sections were saying that, yeah, it's liberal policies, Democratic policies, releasing these criminals. And also, I want to add on to that, it's liberal policies why she's desperate for a boyfriend and will settle for a 25-year murderer. Because liberal policies have destroyed the black family, where free sex, feminism, / casual sex, LBJ's Great Society have destroyed the black family, where there are no men for black women to marry because of mass incarceration and because of LBJ's Great Society and because of promiscuity. Men no longer have to commit and marry you if you're just having your sex with them. Easy, 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 right? They don't have to commit. And this is why this woman, you see how it's all interrelated and interconnected? This is why this woman was murdered, because of liberal policies for decades makes her desperate for a man. Okay, because all women want a man, all men want a woman, right? That's the whole human experience. We all want love. We all want partners. We all want marriage. Traditional marriage is the best way to go. Having the same biological parents for the kids is the best way to go. Even Dr. Phil said that, and you know he's liberal, because you're not. It's just a better situation to have the same biological parents for the kids, right? So anyway, I was making a comment that it's liberal policy that causes this situation. These are the ramifications and consequences that come out of liberal policies. They're what are they called? Unintended consequences. There's so many bad things that come out of liberal policies. So many unintended consequences. People are suffering seriously behind liberal policies, and this is something Robert Woodson said. The the people who embrace these liberal policies are the main ones who are harmed by them. They're doing the most harm. Mark Lamont Hill's embracing critical race theory, Joanne Reed embracing critical race theory, is harming the people they intend to help. Do they intend to help these people? We're assuming they're doing. We give them the benefit of the doubt, and we're assuming their intention is to help Black America. And yet they are so short-sighted and so myopic and so inexperienced, because they've been studying their whole life and they're socially awkward and they're not out there experiencing the full breadth of social interaction and human nature. This is what amazes me about, I could never be an academician or an intellectual, because why? I'm extroverted. I'm not socially awkward. I've always been like a very gregarious kind of girl. I mean, I remember when I was a little kid, my dad would say, go up to the hamburger stand. He would tell me and my son, go up to the hamburger stand and order a hamburger. And I'm the youngest, and I was like, oh, I want to go. And my sister wouldn't want to go because she's a little shyer. I was always gregarious. I wanted to go and do and experience, right? So I was always open to interacting with other people. But I think academicians, and I could see where Cornel West would be kind of awkward. You know what I mean? Can't you see it in him? Can't you kind of see it, on the edges a little bit? And then they get famous and they make a lot of money, you see. Mark Lamont Hill makes a lot of money and they get famous. Maybe there's some narcissism in there. Maybe it's like payback. Maybe they're like huffing and puffing, because Mark Lamont Hill took offense at Judge Joe Brown. His ego was bruised. It really hit him because this is his radio show, BNC. It's BNC, Black News Channel, BNC. It was his radio show, and he sort of took offense at someone thinking that they were smarter than him or understood things better than him. It hit him personally. He wasn't open to understand. He wasn't open to try to understand what Judge Joe Brown was saying. You see, my dad always told me intelligent people are open-minded. So I try to always understand where someone is coming from, right? I don't have to necessarily agree, but I want to understand where you're coming from. Mark Lamont Hill didn't want to understand. He wanted to badger Judge Joe Brown or prove that he was right and Judge Joe Brown is wrong, you see, as opposed to coming to an understanding. He wanted to prove that he was wrong. So this lets me know it's his ego is invested in that. And why is his ego invested in that? And I think it's because intellectuals, academicians they were the smart kids in school with glasses. I wore glasses in the 5th grade, but 10 years old, I had on glasses, but I was socially extroverted. You see, I wasn't shy. So I think they were awkward kids. And they were sort of teased by the other kids on the schoolyard, and they wore the glasses and they were the smart kids. And they resented the other kids because they weren't popular. And so now, this is why they're taking all of this out on us. This is why there's a part of them that is bitter and angry. Because I'll tell you something, these folks, and the same thing, they're all different, you see, because even Kimberly Crenshaw, I think she's a lesbian. Now, you have issues if you're a lesbian. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not anti-LGBTQ, whatever, but I'm just saying if you're going against the grain, so to speak, and you don't fit in with the group, you kind of have internal, unconscious, psychological issues, do you not? So lesbians, and that's another thing. We should not be taking advice from homosexuals, people who are in the LGBTQ quarter, when we are heterosexual, when we want traditional families, when we want husbands and wives together with kids, you see? So why would we take advice? I mean, as far as I know, Oprah may be a lesbian. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? So why are we taking advice from these people? This is the issue. Why are they trying to lead the majority of us who are not like them? Why is the lowest common denominator trying to lead the other people who are, more? We're not necessarily misfits or zombies. You see. So why are they leading us? And I think, and they will do anything to make it happen. And this is why they can lie. This is why Joanne Reed can lie and say critical race theory is not taught in the schools when we know it is, okay? And it may not be that particular label. It's a matter of semantics. You see how it's always playing games with words and definitions, always twisting words and definitions. So it's semantics. Okay, it may not be critical race theory, but it's the same theory. It's the same idea that collective class consciousness needs to, listen, he said, reimagine society. Well, that's overthrow, upheaval of the society the way it is. How did he put it? Transform the economic institutions. Isn't that revolutionary? This is a matter of semantics. These people are never honest. They say it's not taught in the schools. Well, you saw the books. If you watch Mark Levin this evening, you saw the books. Those books are definite. They're definite. In fact, there was an article in the New York Times in 1989 where she was saying how 1989 is over 30 years ago, how it was definitely taking hold in the colleges and universities. And now it's seeping into the public schools. Yes, why? Because we see they want to teach the kids in some schools. You see about how they want to teach the little children. Okay, they want to teach the little children about gender identity. Okay, how were you taught about gender identity when you were in school? How is that relevant? How is that important? How is that appropriate to be teaching a 5-year-old about gender? You just see it, and then you see all these. What are they called? What are they called? They're not trans. What are they called when they drag queens? You see all these drag queens going to the library. Why are drag queens at the library? Were drag queens at the library, the children's library, when you were a kid? So you see this transformation taking place. Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you guys following me on this? These folks are liars. They will never tell the truth because they don't care about the truth. They just care about their agenda, and they just care about being right, and they just care about looking good. Because they didn't look good as kids, right? They were awkward as kids. They had on the glasses. They had the different kind of food and stuff like that than the other kids. And so all they care about now is looking good and coming off looking good. And making them, it's like now they're saying, oh, now we won. We beat the other kids. We were awkward when we were kids, but now we're the intellectuals, we're the academicians making $1 million on MSNBC, writing books, making 6 figures. Now we're the ones in charge, letting you know what the score is. Now we're popular. Everybody wants to hear what we have to say. And so we can lie, we can do whatever we want. We don't have to tell the truth. We just have to be in charge. Do you see? Do you guys get what I'm saying? I think this is what is going on, and that's my take on it. It all started with that woman who was murdered, and the comments section. The people on the left, the liberal loonies, all they can do is call people names. They can't get deep with you. They're superficial and shallow. They don't have an analysis that is rooted in knowledge, that is rooted in the research. No, they don't know the proper words. They know the superficial words, but they don't really know what they mean. So it's a wonderful thing now, I think, that Trump is suing Facebook, Twitter, and Google on First Amendment grounds. I think Alan Dershowitz said that this is the new censorship. The new censorship is now private companies foreclosing, closing the marketplace of ideas. And it also acts as a prior restraint. A prior restraint means that before he even makes an utterance, before Trump or any of us make an utterance, it's foreclosed, it's stopped, it's banned from being uttered. And the place that you can go to share your stories if you've been banned from social media is takeonbigtech.com. Takeonbigtech.com. The American First Policy Institute is the agency or the organization that is working with Trump on this lawsuit against social media. There's my music. We'll be back, and I'll finish talking when I come back.
It was an anniversary of President Kennedy's assassination, and about time I visited the scene of the crime. Standing behind a fence atop the grassy knoll in Daley Plaza, 20 yards from where Abraham Zapruder was standing when he filmed the murder, I knew at a glance the last and fatal shot was not fired from this position. Wrong angle. A shot from here at that time would have knocked the president to his left into Jackie. That's not what happened. The president's head snaps back, his body lifted and driven backward until it collides with the back seat. That shot came from the front. I continued walking along the fence until it curved left into and joining the overpass. Looking down at Elm Street, this is where the shot had to have come from. But why didn't any bystanders see the shooter? Glancing down, I was standing on a very large drain. If someone lifted the drain and stepped down into the hole, they would lose 3 feet. I knelt on one knee, peering through a hole at the bottom of the fence. Perfect. This is how they did it. The shooter and Confederates waited at this location. The shooter would have been notified of the president's vehicle location in the motorcade as soon as it left Love Field, the airport. As the president's vehicle slowly turned in front of the school book building and proceeded down Elm Street toward the overpass, the gunman had the president's head in his gun sight. Waiting until the vehicle came to a complete stop in the middle of the street, the gunman pulled the trigger. Stepping out of the hole, he made his escape by walking several feet away and remaining still. As first bystanders, then police, converged on him, if questioned, he took out Secret Service identification. This was brilliant. I noticed television news teams interviewing a woman below, and I crossed the street to listen in. The woman was Jean Hill. Miss Hill told the Warren Commission of running across the street, up the hill, and was stopped by a tall, thin man who flipped out identification of the Secret Service. After the last interview with a Japanese news team, which reminded me of the international interest in this assassination, I approached Miss Hill. I told her I read her testimony to the Warren Commission and that years later, at the House Select Committee on Assassinations, a Dallas police officer, Tom Tilson, told of seeing a man slip in and sliding down an embankment and entering a vehicle, then driving off at a high rate of speed from Daley Plaza. He reported the license plate and incident to homicide, but never heard back. He said the man was Jack Ruby. She thanked me and said when she told the Warren Commission of seeing Jack Ruby running from the scene, no one believed her. She asked me who were the 2 men standing 20 feet away. I told her Gayton Fonzie, an investigator with the House Select Committee on Assassinations, and Josiah Thompson, the author of 6 Seconds in Dallas. She said she would like to meet them. I walked over to the gentlemen and told them Jean Hill would like to meet them. Both their faces froze in astonishment. I led them over and made the introductions. The 3 of them started laughing and joking and talking like they were old friends. Now I was the one astonished. I silently slipped away. Driving back to California, one thought repeatedly haunted me. They got away with it. I'm Michael Calder, the author of JFK versus CIA. If you would like to learn the details of the president's assassination, get the hardcover edition of my book at Barnes & Noble and your local bookstore.
You see, Jack Ruby was at the scene of the assassination. Get Michael Calder's book, the hard copy at Barnes & Noble, JFK versus the CIA. So what I want to talk about now is what? Oh, I want to say, I want to talk about this one thing. Have you seen the information? There's some controversy, or there's a problem. There's a problem at We Spa, which is on Wilshire Boulevard. I think it's Wilshire and 2800 Wilshire. I think that's like Wilshire in Vermont or Wilshire in Westmoreland or something like that, going east towards, around where maybe Koreatown, where, Bullock's Wilshire used to be. We Spa. Well, it's a spa where women can, both gender, both sex. I can't even get it. Was it gender or sex? No, I'm kidding. But anyway, both men and female can go there. Men and women can go there. And I guess there's a men's section and a women's section. And women can go, and you go, and the women disrobe, and they go in the spa, and they go in the sauna, and so on and so forth. There's a pool, so on and so forth. And there's a man there who is transitioning. And have you seen this in the news? And I don't know if it's in the news, but it's on YouTube. It's on Gateway Pundit. And he's sitting in the spa area, and his banana and cherries are exposed, right? And there are children there. And naturally, there's one, I think, it is a black woman. There's one black woman that kind of like goes off to the management. And there's like, we're not. There's nothing we can do. He self-identifies as a woman. Can you imagine? So that's that. See, that's where we're going now, folks. You see, and the children. That's the most important thing. That it's important that we'll all be infected, but your children's future is in the hands of the left, of the communists, of the critical race theory propagandists. You see. And then the other thing I want to mention is that the Biden administration, what do you think about this? The Biden administration wants to send teams of folks door to door to encourage you to get vaccines, to get the vaccination. Also, I saw in Singapore that they are no longer counting cases of COVID-19 because they're going to treat it just like the flu. Anyway, I see I have calls now. I'll take a call from... Hi, Mike. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hi, Kathleen. Thank you for your very excellent show. You need to, on every show, and all the talk show hosts need to do this on KRLA, is ask your listeners to introduce more and more people to your show. We need to grow the audience and the base, because these are people we're going to need for the recall and to help fight against Marxism.
Okay.
So that would be really good.
Do you think that let's see, I don't know, I've interviewed what's his name, Larry Elder, but I haven't spoken with him recently. You think he's going to run for governor?
I just kind of think he will. I'd hate to have him lose the show if he loses the race. It's going to be difficult because the votes are going to be split up so many different ways, and I believe there will not be a runoff election if Newsom is actually recalled. I believe just the highest vote getter, even if they get 12% of the vote, becomes the governor, the way it works. So I would hope that Larry Elder can get his show back if he loses the race. If he becomes governor, that would be like God's gift to California and to the country. He's just incredibly brilliant. He's incredibly wise and knowledgeable about the huge threat of American Marxism, and this has been, the Marxists have been at it for more than 50 years. They've got a huge head start on us. We conservatives, we tend to mind our own business, our families. We generally don't like to get involved in politics and, go to church, go to synagogue, etc. And the other side has been plotting and scheming and working to take away America's freedom and to literally bring back slavery. See, the Democrat Party, as you know, has always been the party of slavery, the Ku Klux Klan, and the party that has rejected our founding principles of God-given unalienable rights and individual liberty. And the Democrat Party, through Marxism, is trying to bring back slavery, but not just for black Americans, for everyone. And, this is a message we all need to really put out there.
Oh yeah, well they want us to overthrow the hegemony. What is the cultural hegemony? They want us to reimagine society. They want, and this is something that Dr. Robert Woodson asked, is like, what are they going to put in its place? Once you overthrow.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
Look at history. My mother's a survivor. My father-in-law is a survivor of a communist torture prison in China. My mother's a survivor of communism in Russia, pogroms, the mass violence and murder against Jews under communism in Russia. And it also was going on before the communists took over, but the point the communists continued and made it worse. So what's going to happen, there's going to be genocide in this country if we do not stop this Marxism and turn it around. And that's why the Democrats not only want to defund the police and take away everyone's guns, at least not everyone's, but the guns from law-abiding Americans. They want the criminals, they want the Antifa and Black Lives Matter rioters to have all the guns they want. But they don't want the people who need to defend themselves, including black Americans and black business people as well need to protect themselves. They don't want us to have guns. Now, they not only want to, they being the Democrats, not only want to defund the police. You look at back at history, they've been wanting to and working to defund our military, to defund our prisons, and then because they defunded our prisons and we had a lack of prison space, judges, left-wing judges, have ordered that violent prisoners, violent felons had to be released early due to prison overcrowding. This is all planned. This is not by accident.
Oh, yeah, it's been going, and there's an article in the New Yorker, and Mark Levin was talking about, that was 1989. But listen, John Dewey was talking about take over the ropes, take over the public schools, you see, and he was in 1939, I think.
Yeah, see, the communists, the socialists and communist Marxists have had a huge head start on us. They've been working this. This is their religion, okay? Well, Jews and Christians, conservative people go to their synagogues, their churches. They spend time on a real religion, observing the real God, as Prager says, the ethical monotheistic God of Judaism and Christianity. The communists, they worship evil, godless religion. Some people think that it's actually devil worship. In some ways, it probably is. If you look at the results, the communist and socialist dictatorships during just part of the last century mass murdered more than 145 million civilians. Men, women, and children. My mother and my father-in-law were almost part of that death count. And they don't teach this stuff in the schools, so they need to, but they don't. They don't because the teachers, so many of them are communists and Marxists.
Well, that's why I asked what type of person becomes an academician or an intellectual. I think they're misfits. They're socially...
Oh, they are. Let me tell you something. My mother taught me, when I was a very young boy, she taught me, beware of the educated fools.
Right.
Okay, and she was right. Dennis Prager talks about this, how just because someone has education does not mean they have any wisdom. It does not mean they have good intentions. Okay?
Right.
Well, I would add to what my mother taught me is also beware of the corrupt, deceitful people who have credentials, have college degrees, have professional credentials. They're doctors, they include lawyers, they include scientists, researchers who corrupt science. They lie, and they do it at taxpayer expense, usually, doing fraudulent research studies I'm personally familiar with. They use many different techniques at research fraud all at once, and the main purpose is to feed the pipeline from fake science to fake news to influence and manipulate election outcomes, legislative outcomes, and judicial outcomes. There's
propaganda.
Propaganda from the news.
It's propaganda. And you see Zuckerberg and Fauci were in cahoots. They were communicating with each other. So yes, Facebook is an extension of the government because he's working with Fauci to dictate policy to the people.
My Twitter account was shadow banned several years ago, and it's so insidious what they do because you can still log on. They don't block you from logging on when you're shadow banned. That's when you're suspended. They don't even let you log on to your account. But when you're shadow banned, all of a sudden your interactions go down to zero. So whereas you would have, many, many retweets of a particular tweet, of your tweets, you'd have replies, you'd have likes, all kinds of interactions. All of a sudden your interactions go down to zero because the people are following you because they want to see your tweets. They don't see them. And then also, a lot of your followers just disappear. They're no longer following you. It's not because they unfollowed you. It's because Twitter unlinked them from your account, unfollowed them from your account, or suspended their accounts as well. I mean, this is like, I hate to say it, but it's true. I say this, again, as a son of a survivor of pogroms against Jews in communist Russia, that we're seeing right now the patterns of what led to the Holocaust in Nazi Germany, the censorship, the cancellation. The Nazis canceled Jews socially before they canceled them physically in the gas chambers and the ovens. So what they did was they passed laws. The Jews could no longer be lawyers. They could not be doctors. They could not be politicians or government officials. They could not be teachers or college professors anymore. A friend of mine, a friend of his that survived the Holocaust, he was a concert violinist. He played in a big national orchestra in Germany. He was banned as a Jew from even being in the orchestra and playing because They did not want Jews to be seen in any positive light. This is exactly what the Democrats are doing to Trump, to Republicans, to conservatives, to us.
And
So
that's what they did to
people need
Bill
to wake up.
Cosby. That's what they did to Bill Cosby. That was all a sham. That deposition was doctored. Can you see? They're deceitful. It's propaganda. Anyway, thanks, Mike. Let's go to the next caller, Rick. Hi, Rick. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hello, Kathleen. How are you doing this good Sunday?
Good, good, good.
Yeah, I was calling this, like CNN report, like Mark Lamont Hill, all those liberal reporters. It seemed like they hide behind a college degree, and they don't want nobody to be smaller than them. Have you noticed that?
Well, I told you I saw the interview he did with Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown laid into him. I mean, he's a judge, for goodness sake, a real judge, and Mark Lamont Hill called him a fake judge. And Mark Lamont Hill's a part of that Me Too movement. And all of these movements, Me Too, diversity, intersectionality, multiculturalism, this, that, and the other, all the Hollywood folks are in on it. Okay, all Hollywood folks push it. All the music, Beyonce, all these music people push bull crap. And they're trying to push these vaccines on us, okay, folks? I cannot believe that as many people have gotten vaccinated as have gotten vaccinated. I don't know if those numbers are correct. I don't trust anything out of the media. But they say 75 million Americans are not vaccinated. I'm surprised that many got vaccinated. I don't know. When the school starts in August, you're going to see they're going to be pushing it on your kids, and they're going to really say, hey, you won't be able to have a job unless you're vaccinated.
Yeah, you think that's coming up soon?
Yeah, I think that's coming up in August probably. Yeah. Then listen, they want 90% vaccination. That's scary. That's like, and even I've heard some doctors talk about making it mandatory, the vaccines.
I wouldn't be surprised, Miss Kathleen. I really wouldn't, because they're definitely pushing it hard. If they go on door to door to convince people to take it, man. But what's so, why the vaccine is so important to the liberals?
It's not, well, because I think that Gates talked about depopulation, because this vaccine is not, it's not needed, for one, because there's a 99% recovery rate, and for two, we don't know it's not FDR approved because it was given under emergency measures. So it's not FDR approved. You don't know what's in it. You don't know what's going to happen 5-10 years from now. You could be having side effects or something. People are having side effects. You can't trust anything from the media. There are people that are having side effects, but they're not reporting we don't know if those are accurate numbers or not. Listen, it's not something. It's unconstitutional to make something mandatory in your body. Okay, let me take a call now. Joey in Anaheim, welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Thank you, Kathleen. You know what I like about you is that you speak out, and you just speak your mind, and you're willing to stand up and say it. And everybody has been so intimidated. I've talked to people in my neighborhood. They're afraid to put up a sign because they're afraid of retaliation from the other side. And now, since I realize that things are so deep, I'm not intimidated anymore. I just think, bring it on. I've taken my little nice badge off and put my fierce badge on. And I went to Staples and I ordered signs for recalling Gavin Newsom and for draining, the swamp, the Sacramento swamp, and holding them accountable. And I got 10 of them just to see how it would work out. I got 3 in my front yard, and I got a neighbor who has 1 in her front yard, and somebody at church took 1, and I put it in the corner today. And I just think it's time for us to do stuff and really because we can't let all this go to waste, that we've got all the signatures, and then in the end, because we don't give it the last push, that we don't push it over the top. We've got to get these things, not wasting our money and our time, but getting these people out, like Gavin Newsom. Get him out.
Well, let me tell you, the Democrats always have a trick up. The Democrats always have a trick up their sleeve. They cheat. Yeah, they cheated Trump out of the election. Let's hope that Mike Lindell is successful. We don't know what's going to happen. We're just waiting. But I feel we're in dire straits. Yes. Is it bad as Dante, 700, 700 years ago. I mean, this is the nature of man. But let me tell you, this is the nature of life. You will always have the nature of life. You will always have forces that are not operating in a. I think Dennis Prager said it's a very rare person who is a good person, even. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or at least who has good character or is courageous. That's rare. So this is the nature.
10th man.
Huh?
It's the 10th man. I was listening to a radio program, and it was about a very corrupt politician, and he was very clever, and he got everybody on his side. He was charming, and he was powerful, and he was deceitful and crooked. And this one man who had been his friend, who had backed him up, finally came face to face with his corruption and would not bend. He goes, but, you're my friend, and you've been with me, and aren't you going to be loyal to me? And he said, you know what? I'm the 10th man, and, 9 people will be corrupt, but then eventually you'll meet the 10th man, and I'm the 10th man.
Yeah, it sort of sounds like an Orson Welles movie or something like that. But I think Dennis Prager talks about that the nature of man is not courageous.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why even Dante talked about the 7 deadly sins. So this is the nature of living, okay? But we cannot, listen, America is a beautiful and enchanting story. It's a story of resilience and second chances and of hope. We can't let her fall. We can't let her down. And as Trump says, there's more of us patriots and lovers of America than there are of them. But they do have the megaphone. They have the media.
Well, they're willing to beat people up and take away their jobs and lie about them and cheat and steal. That's one of our concerns, is that they'll cheat this election. They'll cheat us out of the truth of this election because we can't trust them any further than we can throw them. But hopefully, God will find a way. God is capable of anything, and maybe He'll have mercy on us and do the right thing.
Let's hope. Yeah, but I think we have to be proactive, and this is something that everyone get Mark Levin's book, Cultural American Marxism. I think we have to confront it. We have to be proactive. Yes, we can't wait around. We have to do what we can in our little space, in our neighborhood. Right. Do what we can. We can't give up. America's worth fighting for. Yeah. She's the beacon on the hill. Other countries are looking to America. If we go down, they all go down. Oh my God! Then we'll all be in the.
China will be our boss.
Right, and there's a Chinese doctor who was on CNN or MSNBC talking about how it's her idea that the door-to-door vaccine, or every 2 weeks you have to go in and get tested. And you have to sign forms. Oh, that sounds so much like communism, right? Can you imagine? Anyway, Joy, thank you for listening. I'll see you guys next week. Maybe I'll have George Joe Brown and I'll go into details. I'm going to go into the Bill Cosby thing when he's here because he knows all the details. And also he's doing that brain trust. Maybe he'll be here next week. If not, we'll figure it out. What do we have coming up? Where are the Arizona audit results? That's the thing. Okay, I'll see you next week. This is the Naked Truth Report. Thanks. Bye.